I would not think but no, it's just standing in front of I would like to call the October 29th, 2025 City Council regular meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Carey,
Present.
Chilson,
Present.
Hutchings,
Here.
Nelson,
Present.
Parker, Wackler.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. And just for the record, Ms. Kincaid is off ill tonight. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda? Ms. Hutchings.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chilson. Are there any changes to the agenda or consent agenda? Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
October 15, 2025, City Council meeting minutes. Ordinance 2025-032, amending Soldotna Municipal Code, Chapter 4, elections, to change the regular election date, eliminate runoff elections, remove the requirement to publish in a newspaper of general circulation, and extend the time allowed for canvassing election results. Sponsored by the Mayor and Councilmember Chilson. Public hearing on November 12th. Ordinance 2025-033, repealing Soldotna Municipal Code 2.14, mutual aid agreements, sponsored by the City Manager. Public hearing on November 12th, 2025. Ordinance 2025-034, amending Soldotna Municipal Code, Chapter 2.08, City Departments generally, amending Section 2.11020, Finance Department Director, enacting Chapters 2.16, Human Resources Department, amending Chapter 2.44, Public Works Department, and enacting Chapter 2.46, Utility Department. Sponsored by the City Manager. Public hearing on November 12th, 2025. Ordinance 2025-035, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $68,500 in the Equipment Replacement Fund for the purchase of a replacement utility service vehicle. Sponsored by the City Manager. Public hearing on November 12th. Resolution 2025-035, confirming the Mayor's reappointment of Councilmember Lisa Parker to the position of Vice Mayor. Sponsored by the Mayor. Resolution 2025-036, amending the Parks and Recreation section of the City of Soldotna fee schedule, sponsored by the City Manager. Action Memorandum 2025-022, confirming the 2026 Board and Commission ex officio appointments, sponsored by the Mayor. Action Memorandum 2025-023, approving the 2026 City Council meeting schedule, sponsored by the City Clerk. That is your consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on any of the items just read by the clerk? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on any item just read by the clerk? And we'll take a look at Zoom and see if we have any hands raised there, and there are no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the approval of the agenda, consent agenda is back before the council. Are there any objections to approving the agenda or consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda and consent agenda are approved by unanimous consent. Next item is public comments. Are there any members from the public who would like to speak on any item? Excuse me. We're going to do a swearing in instead.
Vice Mayor Parker. Please join me.
I,
State your name.
Lisa Parker,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the ordinances of the City of Soldotna,
and the ordinances of the City of Soldotna,
and I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge my duties
perform and discharge my duties
as Vice Mayor
as Vice Mayor
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up is going to be a proclamation. I'll be reading up front for the Alzheimer's. Memory loss, self-care, decision-making, behavior. And whereas 8,400 Alaskans are currently living with Alzheimer's disease, supported by $25,000 on-paid caregivers who provide $39 million of care annually, valued at $700 million. And whereas dementia is the leading cause of death in Alaska, and the only leading cause of death in the country with no known treatment, which promotes quality of life, prevent, cure, or even delay the onset or slow the progress of this disease. And whereas for early detection and diagnosis, individuals and families gain access to medication and support services to promote quality of life, both participate in scientific future and enroll in critical research trials. And whereas the City of Soldotna recognizes the Alzheimer's Fund for promoting awareness and providing care and support, improving the quality of life for those living in the country. Whereas November is National Family Caregiver Month, time to honor caregivers across Alaska and the U.S., raise awareness, strengthen support is essential role. Whereas it is crucial to recognize the story, resilience, and dedication of those affected by dementia, including the ongoing efforts of research. And whereas I urge all residents or caregivers in our community by volunteering with organizations like the Alzheimer's Association, every effort can help us with daily tasks, providing respite care to make a significant difference. Whereas I, Mayor Paul Whitman, hereby proclaim November 2025 in the City of Soldotna National Family Caregiver Month. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please open the picture of this. Okay, now we'll go to the next item on the agenda is public comments. Are there any members from the public who would like to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Next item on the agenda is Assembly Legislative Report, and we have Mr. Truesdale here from the borough for a presentation, I'm going to assume. Yep.
Just make sure it's green.
There we go. Okay, thank you guys for having me. I'm Sergeant Truesdale. I'm the Area 4 Borough Assembly Representative. I had intended to put a little more time into this tonight, but I actually did an up and back to Anchorage, and I got caught in all of that snow, and I just pulled back into town. So I've got my agenda with me here, and I'll go through a few things that occurred last night at the Assembly meeting. First of all, we did have all 5 new Borough Assembly members were seated, so there was some reorganization. Mr. Tunseth was elected president. Ms. Cooper stays on as vice president, and there'll be some committee chairs selected at the next meeting, or I guess announced at the next meeting. We had a presentation from the Central Peninsula Hospital, their quarterly report. seems like if you live in Soldotna and you pay attention to the goings on in the hospital, for me, it was a learning experience. It was my first opportunity to listen to one of their presentations. If you want more information on that, I would go to the assembly and listen in on that or look at their PowerPoint slide. It was interesting for me. Their new CFO, Angela Hennigan, I think is how you say her name. I grew up with her as Angie Maji, but that's her married name. She's now the new CFO. Did a nice presentation for the assembly on the hospital. We had a couple of public hearings for ordinances. One was just more money for software, but there was one that is that I think is interesting for everyone in the borough to hear about. It's approved ordinance for costs for mailers to every taxpayer. I don't know if it's every taxpayer or if it's for the taxpayers who originally had the $50,000 exemption. Essentially, this is going to act as an audit because it'll require that they reapply since Prop 3 passed, and now that is a $75,000 exemption. So to me, that's good. That has not been audited in quite some time. It'll require folks to reapply for it, and they'll be able to make sure that everybody does in fact qualify. Kind of the meat and potatoes of the meeting was Ordinance 2025-21. I could take up most of your meeting with what occurred at the prior assembly meeting. This really was just supposed to be new tax code, or not necessarily new tax code, but rewriting of the real property tax and code and personal property tax code, kind of laying it out to where it was easier to read and easier for taxpayers to go to and navigate. It's been being worked on for over a year. I think I maybe even heard 2 years, and they wanted to get that passed. And at the prior meeting, there was some laydown amendments that everything kind of broke loose at that point. So there was a motion to rescind that, I guess repeal it, and the assembly did vote to do that and repeal those amendments that were made, and then approve some other stuff. So that has been approved. And I think basically the point that was sticky was one of the amendments struck some language that everybody that voted for it didn't necessarily understand, because it was a laydown of what it struck and what the ramifications of that were. So the way it ends up now is that's all nice and clean. And now the assembly can go in and look at whether we're adding a cap or whether we're adding where stacking is allowed or isn't allowed. But that was not wanted to go through with that, since it was just being changed. It was being announced essentially as, we're not changing anything, we're just making it easier to read and navigate. And then all of a sudden changes happened and the public weren't notified of them. And so there wasn't an opportunity for people to show up and speak to that, because they wouldn't have known that they needed to show up and speak to it. But the laydown kind of caused a whole bunch of other things to occur. So anyway, I think we have that squared away. And the final couple pieces of business were more funds for the landfill. The mayor this is one of my concerns with coming on the assembly, was just the sheer amount of our public funds that go to the landfill. And so the mayor it seems like he's really involved in, they've hired somebody new out there. They're still looking to hire even a director. And because it feels to me in my research as I was getting ready to run for the assembly, was that it's just a money pit out there. It's just constantly money going towards the landfill, and it didn't feel like anything. It felt like a lot of Band-Aids from my perspective, but I feel solid that things are heading in the right direction. And I'm happy to take questions on that more specifically after I'm done. And the final new business ordinance that came out was just talking about it's Ordinance 2025-24, and it's amending KPB Chapter 10.04 relating to solid waste disposal. Really what it's doing is it's adding teeth and penalties to people who show up to the landfill and dump stuff they're not supposed to, or show up to the gate and drop it when it's not open, or drop it on somebody else's property. And so it really is just an ordinance that is including violations and penalties for those violations. Our next meeting is on October 18th, which is after your guys' next meeting. November 18th, which is after your guys' next meeting. And so if I get the assembly packet, which I will prior to that, and there's things on there that I feel need to be brought to this group, I will, but otherwise we won't be meeting until after your next meeting. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the council?
Just one.
Chelsea.
So on the landfill, my understanding is at this point, the borough's acquired a new baler system, but it's going to require significant renovation of the building to get it in. Have you heard any timeline on when that work is set to complete? or
Yeah,
if they've even gone out to
that
RFP
question
on
was
it?
asked last night, and what we were told was 90 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a $1.2 million baler was purchased, and I think $450,000 to redo the building that the baler's going into. The old baler's much bigger, the new one's smaller. They want to, right now, if you think about when you go to the landfill, we drop our bags there, then it requires an individual to get into a loader, push that over someplace. They're trying to make the new landfill, and with the $450,000, to where when you drop your stuff there, it doesn't require another additional person to move it around. And so they're trying to streamline it and make it, easier and require less people.
That's exciting.
Any other questions from the council? Ms. Wackler?
You spoke briefly on the tax exemption, I think that voters voted on. I think Ty spoke with us about the possibility of them changing the cap to 375 for seniors or making it a cap of 350, because some people were under the assumption that the additional 25,000 would be added to that cap. Did you guys settle on what that?
It's a great question. That was part of that whole shakedown that happened at the meeting that we were sworn in at. And essentially, the code read 350 as a cap, but obviously with the new exemption of $75,000 going through, that felt like, okay, that would not be, seniors would not benefit from that because the overall cap is at 350 and 307, that does not equal. The amendment that was put down by Mr. Cox was to cap it at 375 to fix that. That still left a few people who had like veteran exceptions, or the other one is the volunteer firefighter exemption. And so that would have actually capped them at not being able to stack to that. And there's only a handful of people who that would have affected, but it would have. And then again, some language was inadvertently, crossed out that really impacted it. So essentially we had to take like 3 steps backwards, approve it, and then we approved an amendment that struck all of the language on stacking and struck all of the language on that 350 cap. So there was no cap put in place, and it allowed for all that. And I think the thought is that now we can go and discuss, should there be a cap, should there be stacking, discuss all of those things, notify the public of it so that they can come in and testify to it, and then potentially vote on those kinds of changes.
Thank you.
Anything else from the council? I do have one quick question. When you say landfill, are you referring just to the landfill just outside the city limits here, or all of the landfills and all the dump stations and everything?
Just the current stuff that we approved was for just the Central Peninsula landfill. There was some discussion there's always discussion about the other transfer facilities and what they can do and they can't do. There was questions about whether or not Homer was still burning brush and all of those kinds of things. But the stuff I referred to tonight is just the Central Peninsula landfill down the road.
Okay. Anything else? Nothing? Thank you very much.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you for the briefing. Next item on the agenda is number 6, public hearings, ordinance 2025-031, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $8,800 in the general fund to replace the plotter at City Hall, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Ms. Hutchings.
Make a motion to enact ordinance 2025-031, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $8,800 in the general fund to replace the plotter at the City Hall.
Have a second, please. Vice Mayor Parker. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance would allow us to appropriate the funds necessary to purchase a new plotter for City Hall, as the title suggests. I think I ordered the plotter 15 years ago. We have successfully skirted planned obsolescence for a long time. It's recently suffered some software failures. It cannot be updated. We have used it for a long time. All departments really use it. The Public Works and Planning Department use it the most. So these funds will allow us to purchase a new plotter that also scans. It's for large format print, things like project plans and designs, banners, signs at the field house, et cetera. So it's a simple appropriation, and once we have the funds, we'll make the order and get it on its way. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Comment?
Are there any members of the public? Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing no one here in the audience, we'll look at Zoom, and there's no hands raised in Zoom. Having no one having no one wishing to speak, the item's back before the council. Are there any council comments? Mr. Carey.
Thank you. For the administration. Can you trade in the old one at all? Or is there any uses for it? Old parts? Is it just kind of scrapped? Is it going to the landfill?
It will go to our surplus pile and likely put in the auction, at which we will be having an auction this month. We've got several items that we pile up, and then annually, maybe every couple of years, have an auction. So we'll put it in an auction and see if anybody wants it for parts and pieces.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing and hearing none, are there any objections to approving ordinance, enacting ordinance 2025-031? Seeing and hearing no objections, the ordinance is approved by unanimous consent. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is new business, and all that has already been covered under the consent agenda. Next item, mayor and council reports. I have one other proclamation to read here. If I can get through this as quickly as possible, if I can find where I put it. Proclamation, whereas the United States is a beacon of hope, freedom, and opportunity in people around the world, and whereas the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen who fight to defend our liberty embody courage, patriotism, and loyalty. And whereas throughout our nation's history, our military men and women have boldly answered the call of duty to defend our nation's independence and precious liberties, risking life and limb for their fellow Americans. And whereas Americans have remained at the vanguard in defending freedom around the world, and our service members, veterans, and their families continue to spearhead this noble undertaking. And whereas America's military men and women and their families are vital to the security and prosperity of our nation, we have a responsibility to protect and serve those who have made countless sacrifices for love of our country. As President Lincoln once said, honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor also to the citizen who cares for his brother in the field and serves as best he can the same cause. And whereas we recognize the integral role of our military family members play in supporting our armed forces and contributing to their missions while our men and women are serving at home and overseas, it is our duty to provide to their families with the resources they need to thrive in our communities. And whereas each warrior who fights for our nation, along with their families, has earned our eternal gratitude, I ask the citizens of Soldotna to thank and support those brave heroes and their families. Now, therefore, I, Paul Whitney, Mayor of the City of Soldotna, do hereby proclaim November 2025 as Veterans and Military Families Month in the City of Soldotna in honor and express deep appreciation for those brave men and women and their families. I encourage everyone to acknowledge and honor the service, sacrifices, and contributions of veterans and military families for what they have done and for what they do every day to support our great nation. Dated this 29th day of October. Moving on further, I had the opportunity to attend the Kenai River Watershed Forum for a lengthy discussion on the Saving the King salmon. And it was a very well-attended event. I'm going to guess there was probably well over 100 people in attendance there. Started at 9 o'clock Saturday morning and went until about 2 o'clock. There was breakout groups that discussed different things about what we can do, what action to take, what are some of the issues, and so forth and so on. And they will continue meeting and furthering, advancing the whole project of saving the king and what we can do as a community. The other thing is, next one was Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the Chamber of Commerce pie auction, and it was held in the field house. And what a difference from sitting in the field house and having some elbow room and being able to get up and walk around and mingle and the room. It was just a totally different atmosphere. I think everyone was very, very pleased on how it all went. The setup in there was absolutely perfect. It was a great event. Enjoyed it very much, and I look forward to being able to attend a few more of those. So that's the last of I have for tonight. Next is council reports on boards and commissions, and I see none on this. So next we'll move to the report from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The written report is in the packet from each department head. In light of today's weather, I'll just simply say we are as prepared as we can be for winter.
Oh, don't say that word.
It's coming. So that's all I have.
Any questions for the city manager? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any item? Seeing and hearing none here in the audience, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Next item, council comments, and we'll start with Ms. Hutchings.
No comment.
Ms. Wackler.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, I attended with you the chamber conference. I absolutely love and was talking with somebody up in Anchorage and telling them all about how many events we have had and how wonderful it is to not be attending events in a dilapidated grocery store anymore. I absolutely love that space, and I'm really happy for our city that we have it. And it was wonderful to attend. But other than that, I don't have any comments today. Thank you.
Mr. Carey.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to applaud you. I've been around a while, and I know that every single mayor of the city and the administration always support those who have served in the military. But I have found in the last 6 years, again, you consistently bring those things to our attention. You consistently show our pride in those in the military. And I greatly appreciate, and I just thank you for what you do in those efforts.
Mr. Nelson.
No comments tonight.
Mr. Chilson.
No comments.
Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. I noticed in the city manager's report, the report from the city clerk, the young artists that are on display in the room here came and visited here in council chambers, and seeing the picture and reading the report, it was warming. And I hope as more pictures get put up over this school year that more kids come and look at that. So it was very heartwarming. That's all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is executive session, and there is no need for one. Next item, pending legislation. We have ordinance 2025-015 and ordinance 2025-017 up for public hearings on February 25th. Next item, meeting announcements. The November 5th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting has been canceled. And the November 12th, 2025 City Council meeting will be here in council chambers at 6 p.m. Seeing nothing further on our agenda, we are adjourned.